to the Tom Green Podcast. We have had a real tough week, and I just want to send my thoughts and prayers out to everybody listening in the world, across the United States and Canada, who are now in the early stages of this growing pandemic, to the people of Italy, to the people of France, to the people of England, the United Kingdom, Ireland and Scotland and Wales, to the people of China and all over Asia and all over the world who are dealing with this in South America, in Mexico, in Costa Rica, in Central America. Everywhere that there are people living and breathing and enjoying their lives, this insidious and evil virus is now either there or on its way, and it's a scary time. And we need to be, I think we need to be afraid. I think we need to be just a little bit afraid. I think fear is a good thing. Fear has always guided me in my life. And we don't want to let fear rule us. We don't want to let fear take over and paralyze us. But we want to let fear, do what it is meant to do, which is cause us as human beings to instinctually pay attention, to look around, to educate ourselves. We are going to have to really get to understand what we're supposed to be doing in the coming days, weeks, months, and even years. We have to change our behavior right now. And the virus that we are dealing with, the COVID-19 virus, a coronavirus, is about to really begin outbreaking in an exponential fashion in the coming days. It is now, and people need to get food into your homes in a reasonable and orderly fashion. If you haven't already, if you're the last person to have gotten some form of preparation underway, you should go do that. Don't hoard food. Don't leave the last roll of toilet paper for somebody else if there is a last roll. I think we've seen a lot of the best and the worst in humanity over the last few days, with people fighting in the aisles over toilet paper. But this is because people are afraid, and fear can overwhelm us, and it can cause us to do things that maybe we shouldn't do. But a little bit of fear, I think, could go a long way into getting people to do what they need to do. I have been reading over the last 24 hours some things that I do not even want to repeat because they cause great fear in me. I have been reading things that are perhaps doomsday scenarios. Perhaps it's clickbait. Perhaps people are trying to get more people to watch their video. I've been reading and watching things on the internet that have me very, very, very afraid. And I'm trying to put that aside and understand that the internet is full of real information, false information. But the truth is, after having read everything and studied everything and talked with experts, this is real. This is not some hoax. This is not some made-up event. This is not some sort of fictional thing being used to win the election, change people's minds about the president, cover up for the fact that the economy is about to collapse. I've read so many things online that are conspiratorial ideas. Do not believe them. This is real, and we will see, as we have seen, people dying all around the world, and this is an unknown enemy. Okay, sure, the flu has killed more people than this has as of yet. However, We don't know where this is going. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't have a vaccine. We don't have a cure yet, and we need to exercise extreme caution. So everybody, please educate yourselves. Do what needs to be done. Do what the professionals out there are advising. Do what the governments of the world are advising. There's no reason to risk. If you don't believe what's happening, you're better off preparing the way you're being told to do, and then find out that everybody was wrong and you were right. And now you got a little extra food in the fridge. You got a few more cans of tuna, a few more, granola bars. You're better off to be over-prepared and it was unnecessary than to not prepare at all and then find out that you are screwed. What ends up happening is if you don't have any plan and then all of a sudden this virus is so out of control that you can't leave the house, you were going to be in big trouble. So please, in an orderly fashion, people, go do what you need to do. I think good things to have in your pantry. And you want to do this in the next, immediately. Like I would actually say right now, stop your podcast and do it right now. Because come back and listen to the rest of this show later. I have my mother, Mary Jane Green, who's going to be joining us and sharing some thoughts about what's happening. But go do it now because they're talking about, again, in an orderly fashion, find a store that is, in your neighborhood that you feel that you can get in an orderly fashion and behave yourself and don't hoard food, but get what you need, and do it now because there's going to be a government shutdown. They're definitely talking about a shelter-in-place order. I don't think we're talking about martial law, but I don't think we need to fear monger and make people think that this is going to be, the end of the world. But I do think that there's going to be some tough times coming up, and you're better off to have some things at home to make your life more comfortable, and so that you don't have to go out in a week. And when there's more of this virus out there, which is growing exponentially every day, get prepared now. It's already, really beyond the time that you should be prepared. 3 weeks ago, I went out and got some supplies just in case of this. And to my shock and horror, everything that has unfolded in the last week happened. And so now I am sheltering and isolating at home, and I'm going to be doing a podcast every day. I will be having guests on the show who can share their experiences. I'll be taking phone calls, and I'll be speaking with some funny people who will lighten the mood, and some comedians and friends of mine who you've known over the years to come on my shows, and also some experts, some doctors, some experts that I'm able to find who can give us some real information. So please be safe, everybody. I love you all. If you're listening to this podcast right now, and you're obviously to me, obviously it's obvious that you're somebody that's been a fan of mine over the years and followed my shows and listened to my podcasts and come to my films and my stand-up comedy tours. And I just want to say I love you guys, and I really, really want you guys to be safe. And that's why I'm going to do this podcast, to get information out to you guys. And hopefully, you'll listen to some of the information that you hear on here. And hopefully it will help you and others. And you spread information that you find. And let's try to get as much accurate information as possible. And see if we can do what we can to try to improve things. I'm not an expert. I just know what I've read, what I've extrapolated from conversations with various people over the last few weeks. But forgive me if I occasionally may say something that is not 100% accurate. I'm trying my best here with limited resources, no producers, nobody really helping put this show together other than myself. But I am going to do the best to try to impart the best and most useful information possible. And if there's anything that I get wrong, please tell me in my comments section on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook, and on TikTok. And I will try to make a correction. If you do get a chance to get some food, if you can get into a store, you want non-perishable items, you want food that is going to work if there's a power failure. If we have a massive power outage and your freezer goes down, a freezer full of meat isn't going to necessarily hold you over. So you want to get canned items, canned vegetables, beans, canned fruit, corn, beans, pineapple, tomatoes in cans. You want to get tuna. You want to get some protein. You want sardines are a good source of protein. Chicken. I got pulled pork in a can. I'm going to be making sandwiches. You want to get granola bars. You want to get bread. You can put that in the freezer. We're not expecting mass power outages, so you can get some good food that you're going to like to put in the freezer, but be prepared in case you need these other items. I think you should be trying to get as much as you possibly can afford to get to hold you over for what looks like could be until the summer. You really don't want to be going outside. At the very least, don't be going out to parties and bars, and don't ignore the guidelines of the CDC that say no gathering in groups of over 25 people. Frankly, I don't want to be around anybody. Anybody can breathe on you, or I believe it's if they sneeze on you. This virus, the coronavirus, the COVID-19 virus, can live on surfaces for many, many days. I don't have the exact number. I believe it's as many as 20 hours and possibly many days. So, you want to disinfect. I know there's been a run on hand sanitizer. There's no more hand sanitizer. Wash your hands with soap and water as much as possible. Don't touch your face. Be safe and educate yourself as much as possible. I'm going to be having guests on the show today. My first guest for this episode of the Tom Green podcast is my mother, Mary Jane Green. We just went through a fairly scary situation. We were on vacation. They were on vacation in Costa Rica. They're snowbirds. They live in Canada. I flew down to meet my parents, and this was about a week ago. And while we were there, all hell broke loose. And governments of the world put out travel advisories and told everybody to come home, and come home we did. So we just returned home. I am in Los Angeles at my home. My parents returned home to Canada to be near their doctors and healthcare system and close to my brother Joe while we ride this thing out. So I don't want to get everybody upset, but it does look like this is going to be a bit of a long haul, and we need to be vigilant, and we need to treat this like a war, and we need to fight this virus and stop the spread of this virus. Stop it spreading at the speed that it will spread at if we go out to concerts and bars. Unfortunately, there has been a shutdown of this. My touring is on hold. I have shows that we've just rescheduled now, but I was to be in Calgary performing this week. I was to be in Philadelphia and Houston at Skankfest, which has been rescheduled, which was going to be a lot of fun. But sometimes, fortunately, the organizers and the governments of the world are hopefully trying to get ahead of this as much as possible at this stage to try to limit what is going to happen. here. And this is going to change the way we live in the society, I think permanently. And if there is any sort of takeaway from this, maybe it will make us think differently about the world we live in. Maybe we'll think differently about how we interact with each other as human beings. And when you see homeless people on the street, maybe you might think, wouldn't it be nice if we could find a system that could help these people so that they don't get sick and spread? When they get sick, we get sick. We want to treat our entire society so that we can limit these kinds of things in the future and maybe look out for one another now. The same goes with things like the climate. Whether you believe in man-made global climate change or not, you have to admit that it would be nice to live in a cleaner world. Of course, I know a great many, if not most of the people listening to this show probably do believe that this is a man-made crisis, climate change. But I'm not talking politics on this show. And that is the end of it. This is a show that I want everybody to feel they can be part of, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. This is not a show to call up and argue in the comment sections, or we're going to take phone calls as well in the future. This is not a show to leave angry comments or argue amongst ourselves in the comment section on my Instagram and on my Twitter page. I don't want you to do that. We want to come together now as a society, as a nation, as human beings, and help each other get through this very scary situation that we're about to embark on. We're at war with the COVID-19 coronavirus, and we are going to fight. So let's fight together. Hi, Mom. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Tom?
Oh, you don't have to act. You don't have to act.
Are we
No,
doing it?
Yeah, I just know you always act when you know you're on the show, and you really turned it on there a lot.
All right, sorry.
Just talk to me like you're normally talking to me.
Okay.
So let's try it again. Hi, Mom. How's it going?
Right.
Hi, Mom. How are you?
Good.
Good. Yeah, that's more like the way you would normally say it. So you made it home all right from Costa Rica?
We did. It was a long day, though. Long day, but we had a nice friend of yours pick us up at the airport in Montreal. And
yeah, you can say who it is.
Brian.
Yeah,
Brian Boswell,
yeah.
A good old friend of yours. And he very kindly drove all the way to Montreal, picked us up at midnight, 12:30 a.m., and drove us back to Ottawa. And then we picked up the car and we came up here to the lakes so we can self-isolate.
Yeah, I guess you're self-isolating. Sorry for cutting you off there. You're self-isolating at your cottage. But it's safe to say that you kind of had to get out of Costa Rica fast. What happened exactly? Obviously, we're dealing with the coronavirus, the COVID-19 pandemic right now, and everybody's world has completely changed overnight. We were on vacation together in Costa Rica, and what happened, Mom? You explain.
Well, there were sort of indications that things were getting bad, and I woke up early one morning and I read that the Canadian government, we're Canadian, and they had advised Canadians to get home.
Are you Canadian? Did you say you're?
I am.
Did you say you're Canadian?
I did say that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, anyway.
I see. You were talking to everybody.
Well, I think so.
You were telling everybody that you're Canadian. Yeah.
Yes.
That's nice of you. You're broadcasting. You're a broadcaster.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, continue.
So the recommendation was that we get home quickly. So you helped us arrange our our return because you were there and you were scheduled to go home that day anyway. So we ended up leaving Costa Rica together, which was a good thing because tomorrow's Wednesday, right? Tomorrow, Costa Rica is restricting incoming flights to their country. So a lot of people are going to have trouble leaving.
So why are they doing that?
They want to control the virus from spreading. And I guess the feeling is that it's coming from outside of the country. But I think it's gone beyond that in everybody's country. People, once it's in your country, it spreads. So people need to stay home. Stay home. Stay in your house.
How do you feel about what's happened, and how are you feeling emotionally, and what are your thoughts on just the general situation?
Well, I'm a little bit afraid. I mean, your dad and I are in the over 65, over 70 category. So, of course, we're in that vulnerable cohort. So we're worried. And no one seems to know how, exactly how this will unfold, although they're now saying, it's going to be, at least 4 to 6 weeks before this thing peaks. So in the meantime, we have to hunker down in our house and hope that we're not exposed. And as long as people quit circulating around in the community and stay in their houses, we can maybe slow this down.
I noticed you used the term. I noticed you used the term "hunker down," which is a term that I use a lot, and I'm assuming I got that term from hearing you say it. Hunker down. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if that's widely used, but we're both hunkering down right now. I'm hunkering down. I'm hunkering down in Los Angeles, and you're hunkering down at your home in Canada. How are you hunkering down, and describe exactly what that's like to hunker down and the process of getting ready to hunker down?
Well, we got off the plane, we picked up our car, and we came up to the lake, and we had closed it for the winter, so we had absolutely no food here. We had brought food in our suitcases from Costa Rica. We brought canned stuff, food that you can actually bring across, tuna and pasta and stuff like that. We stopped at Tim Hortons at 2:00 in the morning and picked up muffins. And so we had those for breakfast. And then the next morning I had to go out. I was, I know you're supposed to isolate, but we needed food and we had no one to bring it to us. So I went to the grocery store. I was very careful. I loaded up on what I thought we would need for 2 weeks and came back here. And, some of the things in the grocery store were not, the shelves were a little bit bare. There was hardly any bread. There wasn't a lot of meat. But I picked up canned things and packaged things, and, we'll be fine.
So only 2 weeks. What are you going to do in 2 weeks? The virus is going to be hitting its potential, peak within the next month. How are you going to get more food when you run out of food in 2 weeks?
Well, there's going to be lots of food in the grocery stores, they say. So, I noticed that somewhere, I think was it in Los Angeles or somewhere, but they were opening the grocery stores for a couple of hours first thing in the morning to let seniors go in before other people shopped, so that they weren't exposed to all the, potential lethal viruses that would be there when other people went.
You're not worried that the other seniors that are there shopping at the time with you could be carrying the virus and you could be exposed? Are you thinking maybe you should get more than 2 weeks supply of food?
Well, it would be good, but we're now in isolation, so we're here for 14 days, and then we'll take that one step at a time, Tom, and then we'll go and we'll get in and get out and use hand sanitizer and disinfectant and all of that stuff to make sure that we don't carry any of the viruses back.
How serious
here.
do you think this is? I mean, do you think this is an overreaction? Do you think you'll just, in 2 weeks, it's going to blow over and you'll just be able to go do whatever you want?
No, I don't think it's going to blow over. It's going to get worse in the next few weeks, actually. And, it's interesting, you see all the pictures of and video of people, young people, down in Florida on, I guess it's their spring break, but they may not get as sick as older people, although that, I think the jury's out on that one too. But they'll be carriers and they'll bring it back to their families, and they're being very irresponsible.
Why do you think they're doing that? Why do you think people are not heeding the warnings that are very clear in all media today?
Because people think that it can't happen to me. And people have had, charmed lives, and they just think that it's not happening, and it's exaggeration, media hype, all of that, which it truly is not. So, they're being irresponsible.
Can you recall there ever being anything of this nature happening in your lifetime, or anything that it reminds you of?
There's not really been a pandemic ever in my lifetime. I mean, I wasn't around when the Spanish flu was around, although, so no.
You weren't around in 1918?
I know I may look like it, but no, I was not.
You weren't,
my
no?
mother was.
Oh, so you're saying you're not 102 years old?
I'm not.
Oh,
I'm not.
I thought you were 102 years old.
Yeah, well, no.
I'm just trying to demonstrate how I can do math right now to everybody. I can do basic math.
Good.
And I also was trying to show everybody that I knew when the Spanish flu was, so that people would think that I'm informed and a good host.
Well, you are informed. You are informed because
Thank you.
Yeah, because you've been once you realized that this was going to be a problem, you did the right thing. You went home and you are self-isolating too.
Yeah, I know. I'm being a bit flippant right now because I'm trying to balance the serious nature of what's going on with the idea of maybe trying to inject some sort of humor into this podcast. But, I haven't really quite figured out how to do it yet, because this is the first interview I've done, and really the first episode I've done of the Tom Green podcast since I've gone into isolation, and since really this pandemic really took off. We've known the pandemic was happening. We've known this was going to happen. 3 weeks ago, I stocked up on non-perishable items at my home, and I have food. And I have to admit, when I was doing that 3 weeks ago, I was doing it out of a sense of caution, but I frankly did not think in my wildest dreams that we were going to be where we are today. And we were in Costa Rica. We flew down, about a week ago just to visit you down there on your vacation, on your winter snowbird, retreat south to get away from the brutal Canadian winter. We knew that something may happen, but we had no concept when we flew down there a week ago that we would be, in the place we are now, where suddenly things took, turn after turn after turn for the worse. Travel restrictions were being put out by governments, by the U.S. and the Canadian government. We immediately you changed your flights. We came back. Luckily, we were already scheduled to come back on the day we came back, the day before yesterday. So you had to change your trip. You were scheduled to be there for another 2 weeks. You spent 3 months down there. How did you enjoy your time in Costa Rica? And how do you feel about having to cut your vacation short for this horrible turn of events?
Well, we had a great time in Costa Rica. It was, the weather is wonderful. The beaches are great, and we have good friends down there. But, I felt when things were getting serious that I wanted to be back home here. Your brother's here, and it just seemed right to come home. It was a hard choice though, because we talked about it and thought, well, should we, stay here and where it's nice, and maybe it won't get here, or maybe it will be not as serious. But I think we all made the right choice.
The decision was to go home, be around, your other son, Joe, my brother, Joe, and also be closer to your doctors, your healthcare system, and just be in a place where you are more aware of what the known risks are as opposed to the unknown risks. We actually consulted with a friend of mine who is a world-renowned doctor. We won't have to say his name on the podcast, but he gave us some good advice and suggested that we all leave. What would you say to people that are traveling abroad right now who are thinking about not returning home?
Well, I know if they're Canadian, I know the Canadian government has urged them to come home. But if they cannot get home, because increasingly there are not international flights, the Canadian government is offering travelers a $5,000 loan to help them either find a flight or to stay in place where they happen to be. I mean, people were given warnings to get home, but I think the airlines just were not able to handle the influx of people wanting to travel all at the same time.
You might have to turn your speakers down a little bit. I think that's what's causing this feedback.
Okay.
For the future, I don't know if you have a pair of headphones there. I probably should have told you that before the interview started. But if you have a pair of headphones, put them on. If not, if you can just turn the speaker down a little bit so you can still hear me, but it doesn't feed back into the microphone. I know this because I studied broadcasting at Algonquin College. Remember when I studied broadcasting at Algonquin College, Mom?
I do. So you'd be able to tell me which hole to put this dute in for the speaker.
You know what? I don't even want to talk about that. No, it sounds fine now, actually. You just leave it the way it is. It's fine now.
I have headphones. I have the one.
Stick it in the headphone jack.
Yeah, I know. There were two, though. I put it in the right one, I guess, because it's working.
Did you stick it in the right hole, Mom?
I think I did, Tom.
Okay. Are you listening on the headphones now?
Yes, I am.
So you stuck it in the right hole, and it sounds good?
It sounds loud and clear.
Okay. That's a little off color, that sort of humor I'm doing. But you've made jokes before that are off color as well, right?
From time to time.
I mean, you didn't grow up in a convent or something like that.
No, I didn't.
No, you grew up in the 60s.
I did, and the 50s.
Yeah. Well, the 50s, maybe that wouldn't have flown so well. But in the 60s, I'm sure that joke would have been fine.
It would have been fine, yeah.
So how do you feel about what is going to happen next? Are you afraid? Should people be afraid? What should people do in your opinion? What should people your age do in your opinion? And how do you feel?
Okay, well, I'm a little bit nervous, but I think we're prepared. I think people just need to take it seriously enough that they stay home and find stuff to do at home,
And so are you actually going to do that? Are you really, truly going to stay home?
Really, truly. And you know what? Even after the 2 weeks, if I get food in here, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying. I'm riding this out in my house.
Yeah. And I'm asking you that sort of in the way I'm asking it, because I want you to give your honest answer. I know I know what you're doing. I know you're staying home. I'm staying home too. I'm stocked up. I have food. I'm not leaving. I'm here, and I'm going to be podcasting every day and interacting with people around the world and trying to get information out as best I can here so that people do the right thing. I think some people are not online. I'm noticing online a lot of people are talking about this as if it's a hoax, as if it's a conspiracy, various theories about why this is happening. I think it's coming from a place of fear. I think people don't want to actually shelter in place.
They don't want to admit.
Yeah.
They don't want to admit that this
I don't know what
can
those
happen.
sounds are in the background, but if you could stop those, tell Dad to stop making those sounds in the background.
Oh, I think he's got the TV on.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah. Could you? Can you tell Dad to turn the TV down a little bit? I want to have pristine audio for everybody.
Okay. All right. Well, he's deaf, so I'll tell him to.
Just yell at him down the stairs in a sort of a brutal and aggressive fashion. Like,
hey, Dad.
Yeah.
Dad.
Yeah.
Yoo-hoo.
Yeah.
He can't hear me. I'll have to go down.
Go down. Just go down.
Okay.
But yell at him so
You'll have to turn the TV down.
Yeah. Yell at him so it's sort of like uncomfortable for him and for everybody else.
You have to turn the TV down. We can hear.
We're doing an important interview. Tell him it's important and that he can watch his show in a few minutes. It's not going to be much longer. Tell him it's just another few minutes, okay? It's important. We're talking to people around the world about the COVID-19 outbreak, and he should respect what we're doing.
Well, he doesn't realize that he's not because he's deaf, Tom. His hearing aids aren't working.
Yeah, this is new, right? Dad has a hearing aid now.
He has two hearing aids. He's got 2 ears, 2 aids.
That's true, yeah. Okay. I didn't realize you had to pluralize it.
Yes.
I didn't know enough about it. Sorry. I learned something today.
No, good.
By the way, this is the first sort of, as I said, episode of the podcast since I've gone into isolation. And I'm just trying to figure out the tone. So if I'm sounding a little bit too sarcastic, I apologize. I'm just trying to figure out the tone for the new show.
Okay.
Because I want to be have a real conversation here, but I just don't want it to be boring for people. So I want to throw some jokes in there too.
Well, that's a good idea.
Just so people listen to it,
That's true. You want them to listen, and you want it to be useful too. So are you going to have some expert opinions on here? I mean, I'm no expert. I'm just sort of rambling away about what I think. But are you going to get some expert advice from some epidemiologists or from infectious disease specialists, or?
No, I'm just going to talk to people who know nothing about it, and we're going to send out horrible misinformation into the world, and it's going to snowball and potentially cause widespread panic. No, yeah, absolutely. I think I am going to do that. And I am because we've talked about it, and I know you're asking because you want me to say that to everybody who's listening because you want them to know that your son's responsible, right? Because you're proud of me, but you want to make sure that I do a good job and I don't screw this up, right?
Well, I just thought it'd be a good idea if you told people what it is you're going to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have a journalism degree. You have a journalism degree.
I do.
Yeah, you know more about doing this job than I do.
No, I don't.
No, I mean, it's true. I don't mind. You can tell me what to do. You can tell me how to do my job. This is just a podcast in my house. I mean, nobody's paying me to do this. I'm not a professional. You have actually worked as a journalist. You were a writer for many years. You studied journalism at Ryerson Polytechnical Institute, now Ryerson University in Toronto. You grew up in Barrie, Ontario, and moved to Toronto for your university years and studied journalism. So, of course, you know what I'm missing in this interview. Who, what, when, where, why, and how, right?
Well, no, you're not missing that, really. I mean, we are talking about we are talking about what?
You made me feel a little self-conscious. That's all.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom.
I'm just kidding. I'm still just trying to find the tone of the interview. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. And I don't normally.
Yes.
I normally don't even talk to you like this, like quickly like this.
No,
I mean, I might though sometimes.
Right, maybe when you're trying to tell me what to do.
Yeah. So we spent a lot of.
Because you think now I'm a sort of elderly that the balance of power is shifting.
I don't know. These are thoughts in your head. I don't know. Listen, Mom, we spent quite a bit of time for several days together in Costa Rica talking about this. Describe what that was like as the news of this pandemic was growing, as the fears were growing in the media, and how did that unfold?
Well, I mean, we were tossing around. We didn't know actually at first whether it was going to be that serious. And I mean, I sort of always thought it was, but then the thing, your immediate reaction is no, can't possibly be. They'll get this under control. But then we realized there's no vaccine, there's no treatment. They're not getting it under control. And should we we were talking about maybe going home earlier than we even did. And then, the final trigger was when the Canadian government told us, get home. But I mean, there was a lot of discussion before that as to whether we should have left, A lot of people weren't as concerned as we were, I don't think. Now, maybe because there were, we were.
It's because we're lunatics, Mom. We're
hypochondriacs.
We're paranoid people, and in situations like this, that can work to your advantage. I mean, pretty much the entire trip, we were glued to the internet and contemplating what was happening here, and it's happened. And I think it's important that people realize that this is serious. And I know I'm joking around a little bit, but I think it's important that people realize that this is very serious, and that they should shelter in place and do everything they can to slow down the spread of this disease, so that the hospital systems are not overwhelmed across the United States and Canada and around the world, because essentially what they're trying to do, and I may not have this completely accurate, but from what I understand, they're trying to slow the spread of the disease so that they can get people into treatment in not all at once, basically. I guess the bad news is this is going to spread. It's not going to stop spreading, but they need to get people in slower so that the hospital systems, the health systems are not overwhelmed and people can't get treatment. Is this your understanding?
Yes, that's this curve they're talking about. They don't want everyone to get sick at the same time and everyone to need hospitalization and ventilators and hospital ICU units, beds, because it'll overwhelm the capacity of the hospitals to do that. I mean, this is what's happening in Italy. There are just so many people that are critically ill and just not enough capacity to look after them.
And we do have we have seen what's happened in Italy. Italy did not have an Italy before it happened in Italy. I mean, of course, this had happened in China. I don't think anyone quite believed that it was going to spread as quickly as it did into Europe. And so people were going out into restaurants and bars and not changing their regular way of life. And then all of a sudden one day it went from getting a little worse to a massive explosion overnight, which is what we're fearing will happen here. So everybody out there who's saying, oh, this is not going to be a big deal, or, oh, I'm still going to go out to a restaurant, or I'm still going to go out to party with my friends, or, is not doing their part as members of society. Because even if you're young and you think, okay, if I get this, I'm going to survive this, or I'm not even going to get that sick, it's just like the flu, it's just like a cold, what you're doing is you're carrying this virus around without even knowing it, spreading it around without ever even knowing it. Now you're creating a situation where it is exponential growth. You are spreading this exponentially to people who don't know they have it. More people are spreading it, and eventually bringing it home to their parents.
They're going to kill grandma is what they're going to do. They're going to kill grandma.
Yeah, and possibly mom and dad as well.
Yeah.
And other people.
That's right.
People with pre-existing conditions, people with low immune systems, and also, some people will just. I don't think you're completely immune to this just because you're young. I think there's still a chance that you could have some very severe problems even being young with no pre-existing conditions. So, if at the very least, do it to look after yourself. But then, of course, you should also everybody should be, coming together right now and trying to do everything that we can to slow the spread of this virus so that we can get back to a normal way of life sooner rather than later. It's probably going to take many, many months before we can even come close to talking about getting back to a normal way of life. How long are they saying that it's going to take before things return to normal, or are they ever going to return to normal? What are you hearing? What are you reading?
Well, I'm reading that it could be 3 months, to get over the bulk of these infections, and I think, but then it's still going to be around, and it'll come back again. It's not going to just go away. Right now, it's going to go up and up and up for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then it'll go, hopefully, decrease. The number of cases will decrease, but it may well go up again, which is what's happened with the Spanish flu, apparently.
So to all your fans out there, because you have a lot of fans out there listening, because of course you were a big part of the Tom Green Show on MTV and on Rogers Cable in Canada, the public community cable station that I started the show on, and the Canadian Comedy Network where we were before MTV. You have a lot of fans all over the world. In Australia, right? You know this, right? You have fans all over the world, in Australia, England, Canada, the United States, in Europe, Asia, Africa, Russia. You have fans that respect and love you, Mary Jane Green, and respect your opinion. Enjoyed seeing me paint your house plaid. Enjoyed seeing you discipline your unruly son. Back in the '90s, in the mid and late '90s, when the Tom Green Show was taken off. What do you say to people? What should people do? Are you just tell them one more time in detail your feelings about this, and what should people do?
Well, unless you've got a critical job, a nurse or a doctor or a policeman, or stay home. Stay home. Wait this out. Don't be out in public. Don't, keep social distance. If you're, they're saying stay 2 meters. What's that, 6.5 feet or something? I don't know what it is, but stay away from people when you're out, if you have to go out in public. Use a lot of hand sanitizer and disinfectant. I was hearing last night on one of the reports that the virus likes to be on hard surfaces. So keep countertops and doorknobs and all of those things clean. They won't really, the virus doesn't really get on your clothes unless someone sneezes on your clothes, So, even though you should, clean your clothes every day, the major thing is wash your hands and clean solid surfaces. So if you go out, when you get back in your car, wipe off the handle of your car when you open it with sanitizer, clean your steering wheel, clean your hands. Don't carry that virus home with you. And hopefully we'll be safe if we do these things.
Mom, people ask me all the time, and this is the last question, and it's been great talking to you, Mom. People ask me all the time, "Whoa, do your parents, are they mad at you? Or, your parents, do they still talk to you?" Because there seems to be this sort of misconception out there that you guys were really, 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 pissed off at me forever because of a few pranks that I did back in the day. So are you still mad at me? Do you still talk to me?
Well, we're talking now, Tom. Of course. And, that was so long ago, Tom. How long ago? 30...
It was 1994 the show started, and it was on MTV in 1999 through about 2003.
Yeah. So, that was so long ago.
And even at the time, were you really, you were supportive of the show. You and Dad were very supportive of what I was doing, even at the time, correct?
Absolutely. We were. We thought it was great that you were, doing the show and, all the technical things you were doing with cameras and, all of that stuff. It's just that we had jobs too. And you would always somehow, I don't know, some of the stunts weren't, but for some reason, a lot of them were in the middle of the night. We could never get any sleep. But in any event, it all worked out, Tom. And of course, we aren't angry or upset or anything anymore. We might have been at the time probably lacking sleep, and some of the stunts were a little over the top, like who paints their parents' house plaid? Well, Tom does, but I don't remember any other neighbors having that same distinctive thing happen to them. But so yeah, it was it was unusual.
You're so proper, Mom. You're so proper.
Oh, am I proper?
Where did that come from? Why are you? I think there's definitely no mistaking you for being a Canadian either. I think our listeners will hear your Canadian accent, and it's quite proper.
I have a Canadian accent.
Yeah,
I guess I do. Well, you must too.
Oh yeah, eh? Oh yeah, we have an accent there, eh? But
we don't talk like that. Don't be ridiculous.
There you go. Now you're relaxing. There you go. That's the Mary Jane Green I know. Right? But you try to be very proper when you're on the radio because you want people to think that everything's fine, right? Because I think you sort of sense that too, that maybe people think that everything is not fine, that maybe I'm not doing well, or that I was a out of control person and then damaged permanently the relationship of our family, and I'm some sort of a lunatic, and you guys are angry and disgusted with me, and you want to set that straight by sounding proper, like you want to sound like the Queen of England while you're speaking to me, to sort of telegraph to people subconsciously that we're actually good people.
Really?
I think so.
Is that what it sounds like?
I think that's what's going on, yeah.
Okay, well, who knew? Well, no, that's not what I'm doing, but I'm just trying to explain that, that was then and this is now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of
so let's get back to that was then. Let's get back to that was then, okay? You were worried about me because you were worried that I wasn't going to get a job, that I was going to have no future. And, of course, the pranks were uncomfortable and frustrating and embarrassing to be on television. And people at your work were seeing this. Before I was on MTV, before there was any glimmer of success, I wasn't getting paid to do the show for 5, 6, 7 years. You were worried that it was a waste of time. You were probably embarrassed by some of the things I was doing and angry. But very shortly after all of that happened, right, things took off. You got to come on Saturday Night Live with me. We did the Oprah show together. Things worked out, and you're proud of me, right? Would you say you're proud of me?
Yes, absolutely.
Mommy, are you
Yes.
are you proud of what I've done, or
Yes.
are you ashamed of what I've done?
Tommy, we're proud of what you did.
It's not
and what you've done and
Yeah.
what you're still doing.
Yeah, right? Everything's good. And what was it like? What was it like when I called you and told you that Oprah wanted you to come on her Mother's Day special to play some of the pranks that I pulled on you, and explain that experience and how that went when you came on Oprah Winfrey in 1999, the very first talk show that had me on television in the United States when my show was taken off on MTV. You got a call from me probably just a few months after we were on the air saying, "Hey, Mom, are you sitting down? You're coming to Chicago. We're going on Oprah together." Tell me about that experience.
Well, that was funny because we were told by Oprah's producers that they wanted us to bring your report cards, and it was all going to be about, you growing up and all of that. So we dug around and found all of these old report cards and brought them, but it really turned out to be their Mother's Day special. So that was a total surprise. And we ended up getting a cruise and,
What do you mean? What do you mean you got a cruise? Explain that to me and the listeners.
As a Mother's Day present,
Oprah.
You and Oprah gave us a cruise.
Not me and Oprah, just Oprah gave you a cruise.
Oprah gave us a cruise to Tahiti.
And the audience cheered. Everyone in the audience cheered.
Yes, they did. They thought that was a really good thing.
And then you went to Tahiti for like a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, we did. Yes, we
On a
did.
cruise ship, right? And you didn't get
Yeah.
you didn't get the coronavirus.
No, it was a lovely cruise.
Yeah.
We didn't really, yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, and now cruises are going through a tough time, but back then it was a great experience. And so, what was Oprah like?
Oh, she was really nice. She was nice. She was funny, and she laughed. I still remember her laughing at when you showed the house being painted. I think it was the house being painted that you showed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I can remember. I remember how hard she laughed. I remember seeing.
Do you really think it was the house being painted when she laughed, Mom? Do you really think
Well,
that?
it might have been the animals
Do you really
in
think,
the house.
Do you really think that? Yeah? Or are you just saying
What-
that because you don't want to talk about what it really was?
Oh, well, was it the mobile? Is that what it was?
It might have. It might have been. Yeah, it might have been.
Oh, okay. No, I've forgotten. I'm getting old.
I mean,
Tom.
she
forget
laughed at
stuff.
all of the pranks. We played several of them, but she laughed at that
Yeah.
one too. And I just see,
Yeah.
I like how I notice you keep sort of bringing up the painted house like that was the only one because you don't want to talk about the other one.
No, I don't mind talking about it.
Yeah, but I mean, you would prefer just make it all about the painted house.
No, I that was not
Then
an
the
intentional.
car. Then the car.
No, it was not an intentional
Okay.
thing
All right.
at all. No.
The car. What happened when I painted the car?
The Slutmobile? Is
Yes.
that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
You painted the hood of our Honda Civic Accord.
Yeah.
So it was no Honda Accord, Accord, with two naked ladies doing whatever.
You don't have to get into too much detail. Everyone knows what it is. But like, how were you feeling?
Well, horrified because I thought, oh my gosh, that's our car. And strangely, I had that day off work because my mother and my sister were coming to visit, and they from out of town. And I thought, that can't be on the car when they get here. They'll think my life is out of control. So I was really in a dither. How are we going to get this out of the driveway and repaired before they get here? So that created a little extra tension in my mind. But anyway, you, in fact, had swapped the hoods, and our hood was off somewhere, and so you just really had to take the car and switch it out. But before you did that, you drove it down to the bus stop where your dad had to take the bus to work.
Yeah.
And all the neighbors saw it.
Were you furious for real? Were you really mad, or was it just an act?
I was furious for real. Furious.
And were you furious every time we did these pranks on you? Sometimes you got mad. Like, were you really mad, or was it an act?
I was really mad.
And you weren't getting paid to do the show. This wasn't like other shows that came after the Tom Green show, where the parents were kind of getting paid, and it was kind of a little bit of a skit. You know, this was real. I wasn't even getting paid when we filmed that stuff.
No, I was not getting paid.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. But in the other time when you painted the house, we had been on a canoe trip for
And you never
10
got
days.
you never got paid for the show.
Never.
Never.
You know, the one time we got paid, we were on, oh shoot, we got $80. We were on a talk show.
Oh yeah. Was it a Canadian talk show?
No, it was American.
Oh really? Was it Oprah?
No. It was
Saturday Night Live?
No, he doesn't have a talk show now, but he used to go on. You used to go on it. He's tall. He used to
Craig
be
Kilborn?
Craig Kilborn, that's right. His show, they paid us. We had got a check for $80.
Nice. I loved the Craig Kilborn show. He was great. I loved him. And you know what?
I know.
And he's still great. I saw him recently. He's a great broadcaster and great guy, and we used to do a lot of fun sketches on there. It's interesting that you got paid $80 to go on Craig Kilborn, but you didn't get paid to go on Oprah or Saturday Night Live.
Well, Oprah gave us a
No, I just find it interesting. That's all. I wonder why that is.
Yeah, I think it was some legality, legal thing.
Yeah.
I guess.
And so, what was it like being on Saturday Night Live? Was that a sort of a exciting thing for you? Did you ever think that you would be on? You were on stage with me, During the show, I brought you up on
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah.
You met Tom Hanks.
Yes, he was really nice.
Describe what it was like during the show, at the party afterwards.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of, toing and froing before the show. And I mean, then we watched, I guess, most of it, what was going on. It was fun to see how they put it all together. And then we were called up on stage at the end. We actually went into wardrobe and we got fitted out in what would look like appropriate clothes for the part we were playing. And then your dad and I walked out on the stage, and then that was it. We weren't there for very long, but it was fun to see. And then there was I guess, as they always do, have a party afterwards at a bar or pub or whatever afterwards. And we went there, and Tom Hanks was sitting right next to us. So that was kind of fun. We got to talk to him.
And was he a nice man?
He was very nice.
And
he
now actually has the COVID-19 right now. Him and his wife both have.
I know that. I saw
Rita
that.
Wilson, yeah, both have coronavirus, and I hear they're recovering. So.
Oh, that's good.
And
that's good.
What other celebrities did you meet? At Saturday Night Live. At Saturday Night Live.
We met Brittany Murphy, who was really nice, and may she rest in peace. I don't think she's with us anymore,
no,
but
not.
she was very nice. I knew who she was. Your dad didn't know, and she bought us a bottle of champagne, and your dad said, no, you can't pay for this. Well, no, she said, I insist. And your dad thought, well, why would this young girl be buying us champagne? But anyway, she was doing very well, I guess, at the time in a movie, and just was very kind in doing that. Yeah. She was very nice and very sweet.
Yeah, that was a tragedy and very sad when she passed away. She was always very nice to me and was very nice to you. I remember that. Well, listen, Mom, this has been a real whirlwind of a week for everybody in the world. And I hope that, we all stay safe. You stay safe. And I hope everybody listening stays safe. And I hope everybody listening tries to educate themselves as much as possible. And then pass that information on to their friends and family and try to shelter in place and do what needs to be done to try to slow down the onslaught of this pandemic. We'll be doing the podcast every day, and maybe you can come back and check in with us again soon, Mom.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck with the podcast, and I think it's a good thing, Tom, to do.
Yeah. Any parting words for the people out there?
Yes. Wash your hands.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Mary Jane Green. I'll call you soon, okay, Mom?
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thanks, Mom. Love you.
Okay. You too, Tom. Love you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Tom Green Podcast. I will be broadcasting from my home throughout the course of this pandemic, and I want to wish everybody best of luck. And I want you to know that you're in my thoughts and prayers. And please be good to each other. Spread truth and real information on your social media. And stay safe. Until next time, I'm Tom Green.